to this computer. Okay, so we're starting and hosting Bezi, Matthew, and Sky. So I think you can take it from here. I will mute myself, and we'll probably arrive next. We will have more questions, and we'll talk more.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds great. And we have a presentation prepared today. It's going to be some slides about Bezi, why Bezi is one of the best agentic harnesses for game development. Sky prepared 3 different demos that we're going to show in the presentation, and then we're going to leave some time for some question and answer. And so we all can kind of chat either about Bezi, questions that everybody here might have about it, or just kind of AI and game development in general, since that's kind of the theme of today's talk. That said, I'm Matt. On the enterprise business development side here at Bezi. I've been in the games industry for 17 years now. So kind of been all over the place, but it's been really exciting being here at Bezi and kind of solving these frontier problems with agentic AI and game dev. That said, I'll hand it over to Sky, my counterpart here.
Yeah, hey everyone. I'm Sky. I am our technical business developer, which is just a very fancy way of saying that I have a background, 13 years in game dev as an engineer. And now I help onboard studios with Bezi, try to make sure it fits into their workflows, and if not, try to help the Bezi team identify where we can improve the application so it works from the indie scale all the way up to the AAA studios.
Yeah, absolutely. So I talk the talk, Sky walks the walk. And we'll get right into the presentation then. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and then I'll maximize this for readability, and we'll go from there. All right. Can everybody see the presentation? Looking good? Readable? All right.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
it's
yeah,
visible.
So thank you for having us on today. We're Bezi, and kind of the theme here is we're moving beyond the prompt box. So I'm sure everybody on this call has had a lot of experience with agentic AI using tools like Claude Code, ChatGPT, Codex, Cursor, any number of different IDEs with different agents. And you know the standard workflow. You have your threads, you're entering your prompt, you're connected to different platforms and services and things like that, maybe an MCP into Unity or a game engine. And it's kind of a bi-directional conversation, so to speak. But there's a lot lost in translation, and that's what Bezi's really trying to capture. We're trying to move our harness beyond just prompting and really create standardization at the team level, but context at the prompting level. And we're happy to be as conversational as anybody wants to be. And also, Sky, feel free to jump in or out if I'm missing anything as we move through. And so what we really believe is generating code now, it's not the most difficult part of creating games using various AI agents. Agents are really good at writing code now, and there's no shortage of different agent options. Big in the news lately has been a lot of the Chinese open source models like GLM, Kimi, and they're all ranking within mere points of each other now on the various benchmarks related to code development. So what we really believe is that the code part's easy, but changing the game and actually working inside of the engine, inside of your project contextually, that's the hard part, so that you actually get really salient outputs that are actually progressing your game development workflows. And so how do we do this? Well, Bezi closes the loop inside of Unity. So we're not using MCPs, and that's going to be kind of our next slide in terms of how we connect to the engine. We have a custom plugin that does a lot for us, and it basically allows us to take your intent by housing your game design documentation, plans, pages inside of Bezi, and translate those directly into agentic work that flows through our plugin into Unity and creates this bi-directional connection to the engine in your project. So everything is much more kind of at the agent's fingertips, and and the interaction between Bezi and the engine again is bidirectional, and things are flowing much smoother than opening a set of tools via MCP, pushing things into the engine, and then kind of having to go back manually through that process as you open new threads and continue to prompt. So now I'm going to hand it over to Sky to start talking about more of the technical aspects of Bezi and why it's different.
Yeah, as I'm sure most people in this call, if you're using Unity, you're interested in AI, you've probably opened up Cursor, Claude, Codex, and then you've went online and you went, how do I connect this to Unity? The most common things you're going to come up with are MCPs. There's a lot of open source ones out there. Unity has their own. Um, in general, if you've only experienced the Unity MCP options, this MCP like ecosystem is massive. There are MCPs for everything from Jira to Trello to Blender, even your Google Suite. Now, the reason that all these things connect to pretty much any AI project is because Anthropic created the open standard for MCP. It is a one size fit all. It's like your USB port, right? This is not an optimal workflow for any software, but it works. And for the most part, it works is fine, especially when it comes to just grabbing information off of Google or, importing a model off of Blender straight into Unity. Possible workflow with Bezi, by the way. Um, what makes Bezi different is that we don't use an MCP protocol. Instead, we've created a custom TypeScript generation layer that goes from our LLM, generates TypeScript instructions, best language for AI, outputs it into our Unity plugin over WebSocket, and then our custom editor plugin executes the TypeScript code into Unity API calls and custom workflows. This is what gives you a much higher output quality from Bezi than any other MCP-based workflow. As well, because we don't rely on this open standard, which is JSON-based, we also can keep a much tighter context, both in the window and with what we're passing back and forth to the LLM itself. Let's hit that next slide, which I think is going to be the TypeScript stuff that I already hit on. Yeah, so there's a quick slide about our TypeScript generation. This is pretty unique to Bezi. Even if you were to open up Unity AI, their solution is also just an MCP solution. Now, say you experience one of these MCPs, maybe you guys already have ones you like ankle breakers or Unities, and you use Bezi. You find that Bezi works for majority of your stuff, right? You love how it works with input actions, with test runner, animations, animation controllers. You find that the shader work is really good in Bezi. But maybe, I don't know, let's say you don't like how Bezi handles reading the console. You don't have to abandon this MCP that already works very well for that one use case. You can mix and match here. You could add that MCP to Bezi, turn off everything you don't need from it, keep the console functionality. And then, also hop into our Discord, tell us that you prefer an MCP console read over ours, and we'll get to work on fixing that. Now, let's head over to the next slide. This is where the fun begins. I'll have Matt click this video here and go ahead and let's just full screen it. And we'll pause just so I can start off here. You mind putting it back to the beginning? And I'll cue you up for the play button.
Yep, sorry about that.
Oh, good. I should have left some breathing room in my recording.
It's very eager to play.
Yeah. I probably could have changed the setting in it for that. So I've got 3 demos of the most common use cases that I show to studios. By far, the biggest request is, can Bezi help us with implementing UI? There's two workflows typically for this. Either they are using Photoshop or they're mocking it up in some system that doesn't have an MCP available. In that case, grab a screenshot. You can drop that screenshot straight into Bezi and we can work with it from there. The other workflow is Figma, which does have an MCP. We do have an easy way to connect the Figma MCP into Bezi, and you could then just reference your Figma design boards, right? For this demo, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what it's like with a screenshot. You can see here we have a daily rewards screenshot. Pretty simple. It does have some nice little effects, and we have some gridding to handle here. So let's go ahead and hit play, and I'll talk everyone through this demo as it goes. Hopefully I've timed everything pretty good. We can go ahead and see here. I have all of my art assets are in a folder. They're all natively named, so it's easy for the AI to understand without having to look at them. Top left there, you'll see I'm creating a canvas. Everyone's favorite step to UI work before they then waste 8 hours of their day trying to get everything to scale to aspect ratios. Uh, this is Bezi, our lovely standalone application. This here is a page that I have iterated on. Go ahead and pause this also. Um, in Bezi, we have this concept of pages. These are essentially markdown files with some like fancy styling and a bit more custom functionality that we've created to work well with the LLM and also connect to some Unity specific information. You can see in here, like just for example, where this is currently paused, I have some UI implementation guidelines. We can see here the recommended settings, a bit about padding and spacing, child alignment. There's also going to be a section in there for, layout groups, horizontal layout groups, different canvas scalar modes, when to use what for what. Of course, I didn't write this entire UI guidelines page. Very much it was built over time with the agent. Anytime it did something wrong building UI, I would just correct it. Be like, hey, that doesn't look right. When we build UI, we want the canvas scalar to be expand for our mobile UI. Please update that into the guidelines. And then just going forward, this is kind of like an iterative process to always get better results going forward. Let's go ahead and hit play again. You see, I just showed a bit of it there in the video. I do break it down into phases. This is specifically for a screenshot. So this workflow would only work when you go ahead and grab an image, drop it into your thread, and then we'll write a simple prompt. I'm going to tell it that we need to build the daily reward canvas, reference the screenshot provided, and then you're going to notice that I tell it to follow the guidelines in the UI input guideline form. This is tagging that page into the context window. Now we go a step further. I want to tell it to build inside of that canvas that I just built in Unity in my scene. You will see that Bezi has access to everything in your project, in your hierarchy. Very nice and simple, right? Go ahead and hit enter. We see what Bezi does. I'll note this is sped up. When you're doing large UI tasks, typically, this could take upwards of like 10 minutes. I think this one took around 6 or 7 minutes. So I've got it on a nice 600 times speed here for you guys. It's also why I'm not doing the demonstration live.
Yeah, that's a Mitzi, start recording also your demonstrations ahead of time. It will save us next time things. It's a good idea.
Yeah,
But then you don't have the funny moment that suddenly it hallucinates something during the talk.
true. These all are first try runs. So even if I had run it dry, on the call, thankfully in this scenario, we wouldn't have run into any issues. But it does sometimes happen in the live calls. But in the live demos, I can only do like one demo. Whereas this time I'm gonna get to show you guys three. Uh, a very fun thing in Bezi, you could switch over to the Unity engine and watch it build, as we just did there. You may have also noticed in Bezi, there was images of every art asset. Very useful tool in Bezi. If it doesn't understand your project folder, it could just open up the images and look at them. We can see here that it checks the screen. This is kind of a validation loop. It says, hey, did I get everything right? Uh, it's not going to think it did. So it's going to kick off the next loop. And I do believe I rapidly speed through the ending part there as it does multiple attempts at getting closer and closer. I actually did like this. I don't normally see this, but Bezi can like pinpoint a specific area that doesn't look correct, as we see it taking a small photo of that grid. Um, Normally, without prompting what's wrong, it won't go fine-tuned like that. This time it did, maybe because I used GPT Soul, which is a very powerful model. It definitely went in a bit more than it normally would have.
And Sky, I think one thing cool to point out is the vision capabilities that reside within Bezi and via Bezi's plugin into Unity.
Yeah, it is quite expansive in what it can see. It could see your editor scene, it could see your editor windows, your game view, and it can also create its own views. Say you had 100 assets, it would create a scene, a temporary scene, place all 100 assets, take a photo of them, and then get rid of the temp scene. So it's pretty good at getting pretty much anything inside of the editor.
And another thing that I mostly never saw in any MCP, and I don't think also in yours, and I wanted to know what your thoughts about it, is running multiple editors at a time. Because when I don't work on Unity, when I work on backends and stuff like that, I can do multiple work trees and just run agents on multiple tasks. But with Unity, I cannot open two Unities on the same specific project. There's some hacks around and to do it, but is the plan for doing something like that?
So currently in Bezi, it would be much of the same as you've experienced with other options. Um, the difference is like our ask mode for inspecting Unity, looking through your project, answering questions, even building plans for larger like work, you could have parallelized. You could have 100 ask threads, 100 plan threads all running going through your scene, but only one agent. There are people who get around this by opening up two instances of their project. Of course, if you have the RAM and CPU to do so, that is an option. Um, but it is a thing people ask us pretty frequently, and we've been looking into it, and we're constantly looking for what is the best way to do that. With backend code, work trees are kind of the way to do it. When you get into Unity, it becomes a bit more complicated because you could have collisions with the assets. The YAML files could become messed up. Which one do you accept? There's going to be work thrown away in a collision, or even worse, a corruption of the YAML file, which AI is very prone to do without some pretty good safe boundaries. So yes, it is coming. There's actually an initiative to kick off this month where we hope to finally have this solved based on some research we've been doing in the past few months.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah. It's definitely the unlock, right? Right now you're probably like 3x more productive. How do we keep going? Parallelization is probably the way. Also, massive amounts of sub-agents are coming soon.
Cool.
Um, okay, so our next demo that I have for you guys is probably my favorite use case for Bezi. Hit that pause real nice and quick. Yeah. My favorite use case in Bezi by far is runtime debugging. I, 13 years of doing this, I probably have spent more time fixing bugs than anything else. And by fixing bugs, I mean spending hours trying to figure out where the bug is, be it in the code, in the inspector, potentially even like in some weird compatibility with my hardware. All of these things are super annoying, especially when all you want to do is just make your game. So with Bezi, it has the context awareness of not just your code, not just your prefabs, the console, etc., it can actually run and read your runtime hierarchy data. It could go in and inspect every like in the moment value that's being set. This is, you know, very useful. And here's one such instance. We'll go ahead and hit play now. I don't know if it's the it says HD down there. It's a little fuzzy. Might just be my stream quality. Oh, it's kind of cleared up there. Okay, so you can see this is a kind of a Vampire Survivors-like game here that we've built 100% with Bezi. Um, you can see when he does his jump here, he is now kind of like an idle fall animation going on instead of his normal run. So what we'll do is we'll pause Bezi, click on our player v2 object in the hierarchy, and you can now see that in my thread, it was already there. I just had to click it. Bezi knows what you have selected in the engine, just for ease of access grabbing. We'll pop open our model selector, go down to Sonnet because it's a little faster. We'll make sure that we're in agent mode, and then I will describe the bug to the agent. In this instance, our jump animation is stuck. We'll have it analyze the scene, see if it can give us the most likely reason for this. Which, by the way, while we're on the topic, Bezi does have 3 different modes. Ask mode can go at runtime. It can analyze everything. It can answer questions about your project. If you are onboarding to a project, this is probably a great use case just to ask what's going on in this project. Where does this system live? How do these different systems interact? It can help you build that mental model. It could also document it into pages if you needed it to. And then there's plan mode, which is for like in-depth investigation about how to build a new system or fix a complicated issue. We could see here it did some analysis. It seems to believe that the player movement controller has a issue with the parameter flags being set. It's given us a suggestion of how to fix it. And since ask mode can't make changes, and you can't make changes while the editor is running, I just go ahead and ask it to write me an agent prompt. Bezi's very good at this. It can probably write a better prompt than any of us can because it understands how it works better than we do. So I go ahead and I just click that copy button in the top right. I close out my play mode, and then we'll just pop over into Bezi, create a new thread to clear our context, and we will, Control V that right into the thread window. It is an interesting thought because all the information was in that thread. In the prompt itself, I probably could have saved more credits by switching this to Luna instead of continuing to use Sonnet here. Then we'll hop into Bezi, back into Unity Editor, and we'll verify that our bug is fixed. Go ahead and give a jump. There we go. Hey, look at that. Fixed our animation controller. I think that's the end of that video. Any questions about runtime debugging?
I actually have a question not about runtime debugging, but about the models that you're switching. Today in our WhatsApp group, there was a conversation about why base 44 is nice because it can decide which model to use smartly to save tokens and to have the good output. Do you plan or do anything like that?
So, applications that have that's like the base 44 is auto mode, right?
I'm not sure. I'm not using it. It was a conversation in the WhatsApp
Oh,
group.
okay. So typically that is referred to as like model routing, which is where you take the prompt, you have some AI decide, you know, what category and complexity is this prompt, which of our available models is the best for handling that scenario. If you were to go to, actually, Matt, you have a tab open there. Can you go ahead and go to the Bezi LinkedIn for me?
Yeah, not a problem. Let me yeah, try and move this bar real quick.
Yeah. So with model routing, the largest task that you need to do is decide which models are good for what tasks, right? Some of them are good for
Nope,
UI,
that's
some of
not
them
it.
are,
Wrong Bezi.
oh, look at that. Free advertisements for him. 42 connects. He has to work on that. Um,
Everybody go connect with him. Let me
tell him Bessie sent you.
there we go.
Okay, so just go down for a little bit here, and we should have a post about model capabilities that were shared from Julian.
This one?
No, no, no. Should be a little lower. And a little lower. There it is. Go ahead and
There
click
we
that for
go.
me. Okay, so if you see here, we know at Bezi that Luna is currently the best model of our options for component scripting. Equally, we could say that GPT-5.6 Soul is the best for gameplay functionality. If you're building UI, it's also Soul. If you're building debugging, it is also Soul again. But this gets more complicated when you start doing cost analysis. This is why you'll see that Luna is highlighted, is because Luna is significantly cheaper than all of the other frontier models and is generally second or third place in most of these categories. In Bezi, what we do is just default you to Luna. You could choose to go off to another one, but generally, Luna's going to get the job done. Could we route this is the big question, right? Could we set this onto auto mode, let Bezi decide, especially since we have this benchmark, which literally no other company has created yet. Public version coming soon.
Yeah, I actually I think I commented on this thing because I like the transparency, and I think I even sent it in the group if anyone here can collaborate it. I think I sent it because it was amazing that it's actually told like you kind of open source the information of what why you chose to use which model, which is also good for us if we work with Codex or Claude to not even if you use Bezi. So.
Yeah. I mean that's a huge issue currently in AI is that like so many of these benchmarks are very generic, right? Typically if you're a programmer, you're being told to look at the SWE Pro 2. That's the software engineering benchmark. It's full of like Python, Ruby, TypeScript tasks to solve. That's not game dev specific. If we're going to look at game dev specific tasks, we need benchmarks for that. This has been a long running issue here at Bezi. Every time a new model comes out, someone asks us, hey, are you guys going to add this model? Is DeepSeek Flash coming out, right? And normally that would have meant that we'd have to go and evaluate the model, see if it works for all the different use cases, make sure it works with our tool set. Um, it was becoming a very like time-consuming thing. So you all know the AI model Gemini. It's a pretty decent model for a lot of like daily tasks, right? Um, for the longest time, they were, the forefront of eval systems because they have Google money, of course. Um, so what we did was we hired one of the people who helped build Gemini's eval system, and we put them to work. We said, hey, there's not a benchmark out there for game dev. We would like to make sure that our system is always improving, that we're choosing the best models, and that at the end of the day, at some point, hopefully very near in the future, you could go to our benchmark, you could download it, you could test each of these tools independently. You could test Bezi, you could test Claude Code plus an MCP, and you can see the, analytical data of why these are the best models and best harnesses for this job. Hopefully we win. We won't know until it's out though. And if we don't win, now we have the benchmark to make sure that we are always working towards winning. Does that answer why we don't have an auto router right now?
Yes, I think so.
Awesome. This is the first step towards it, right? Like the benchmark needs to exist first before we could correctly judge if your prompt goes into which category. Because if we can't do that, then the router won't work anyways, and we might send you to the wrong model.
And the models are changing so rapidly right now, too. I mean, just even in this past main update to Bezi, we've added all the new 5.6 models, GLM 5.2. Internally, we're testing Kimi K3. So there's just a lot out there. And when you look at other harnesses like Cursor or Hermes Agent that do some auto routing, most of the time they're defaulting back to whatever you select as your default model anyways. So even when you're trying to use some of those auto routing features, it doesn't always get you to where you want to be, like Sky is saying. So we're trying to be as transparent as possible, but to Sky's point, to make this as visible to everybody as possible, because there hasn't been really good dedicated benchmarks like this in the past for game dev specifically. Back to the fun stuff.
Yeah, back to the fun stuff.
I have a question about the debugging.
Yeah.
How does Bezi validate that the bug was fixed? Does it take screenshots like Coplay MCP and okay,
If
does
it
it tell
is
me?
if it is something that could be screenshotted to validate, it typically will. If it's something that's code-based, it'll probably just ensure the code compiles. And if it doesn't, it'll fix that. But there's still the opening there for it compiles, but it doesn't do what you want, right?
Yeah,
We recently released support for Test Runner. With Test Runner, if you've ever used it, is kind of like unit testing for Unity. You can set up an entire test suite. You can have Bezi build the entire test suite. Um, and then you can have Bezi at the end of every work or every prompt, every thread. It can go through and it can run automatically all of your test cases. And if something's wrong, say it broke something or it didn't solve it correctly, the test runner is what can actually validate better than compile. Because that'll get the nuance of what you're actually trying to get it to do. And that just came out on Tuesday. It's actually my favorite update that we've done in quite a while because I love Test Runner. It helps with a lot of regression testing.
okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, let's full screen this one. This is also, of course, another time-consuming one that I don't want to do in my day-to-day. Profile analysis, right? You've put your game onto Steam Deck or the newly released Steam machine, and it's not hitting that 60 frames per second. What do you do? Let's see what I did. So here we're playing. This is a pretty simple demo, so there actually isn't that much optimizations to do, which is also a unique scenario in that we're really hunting down the very niche applications of what could optimize this. You'll see there's a few spikes over there. One spike in particular sent us up to 33 milliseconds. And let's see, do I go and hunt that one? I probably do. Yep, you can see I'm trying to get frame perfect on that exact 33 millisecond spike. I put my trace there, hop over to Bezi, go to ask mode, and I'm going to switch back to Sol here because generally profiler analysis is pretty heavy in data. What that profiler puts out is a massive amount of data. Not to mention, I don't want Bezi to just look at that file, right? I want it to look at the scene. I want it to look at my scripts. A lot of context. Sol is generally going to be the best for this. I tell Bezi, I need to optimize my scene, please take into account the profiler and all those other things, and it's going to launch a number of sub-agents. Thankfully, sub-agents are very fast. because you're just parallelizing tasks instead of doing them one after the other. We can see here Bezi is going to take the snapshot of the profiler. It's going to read the CPU timing. It goes for the hierarchy down to 120 items, so it went pretty in depth there. And it's now going to start looking into each of the individual potential causes, and it's going to output a rather in-depth analysis. Right in a minute. There we go. It starts outputting very quickly. The fun is if you're in the moment trying to read it, just give up, you know, wait for it to finish, then you can scroll up, check out the most likely things. It thinks there's the level up trigger is happening and it just kind of stays there, stays in memory. The visual effects are instantiated, but they're never reclaimed through an object pool. It also notices that every enemy is allocated into a list, which over time is going to eat up a ton of garbage collection. We can see here there's actually 720 list allocations per second. That is a pretty significant spike. Now, I think this one actually caught my attention because that is a ton of list allocations, and garbage collection is a very easy thing to verify. So I imagine right here we're going to see I minimize Bezi after I finish reading. I could have cut out me reading. And we're going to head over to the hierarchy, and I'm just going to check for that garbage collection. There is some garbage collection in here. It is, however, not the cause of this issue. If I'm actually targeting garbage collection, I would have taken out that UI toolkit implementation that our solutions engineer built. And you can see I went through the rest there. This is just like runtime debugging though, right? Bezi can't fix it in the moment. I could ask Bezi, create a solution for how to fix maybe number 1 and 2, the ones it thinks were the most likely. Go through, do it, do another profiler analysis, see if it cleaned things up. Unlike runtime debugging, though, there's a lot more nuance in profile analysis and optimizations. So I generally don't recommend blind letting Bezi do this. Let it do the analysis, verify the cause is actually the real cause of your profiler or your spikes, and then prompt it to help you fix that. Oop, I just full screened this. I should have been full screen the whole time. Any questions on profiler analysis?
Again, you've snapped at a single frame, and Basic can read the info on that frame.
Yep.
Okay, it's amazing. Doing it just with the Claude and MCP takes minutes to screenshot everything for him. Okay, it works for this alone.
Yeah, we're also looking to expand it to the memory debugger and the frame debugger also. I know that's a bit more, nuanced profiling, but it's also something that is definitely a specialization. Most people don't have a lot of experience in those two debuggers specifically.
Yeah,
So,
so please don't do it. It will take my job.
oh. Or it'll help you complete more jobs quickly.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding. I like the frame debugger a lot. I teach it also. Um, okay, I think we are in the Q&A section, right?
Just about.
Yeah, just
We just
about.
had
I
a
think
couple quick additional slides that just kind of wrap up the presentation.
Okay.
But we can move through them quick and go right to
No,
Q&A
no,
too.
no. All good. I just thought it's the Q&A section. So continue as you go.
all good. Yeah, I can rapid fire on this one here. Generally, I'm sure you've used Claude Code. You've made some cool editor tools. Bezi can do it too. That's kind of the difference here is that like anything Claude can do, we can also do. There is some more nuances in some of the deep work, but the simple stuff like live ops, editor tools, code debugging, all of this is going to be just as simple in Bezi as you find it in any other tool. And especially in mobile, you're going to see a lot of live ops.
Yeah, and this is just kind of again touching on the workflow inside of Bezi. So it's not just prompting, it's project context. It works across disciplines and teams. So a lot of teams, not everybody is sitting in an IDE, right? Not everybody is sitting in code alongside of their agent. They're sitting in other tools. They're sitting in Blender, they're sitting in Maya, they're artists, they're sitting in Figma, and they don't really touch code. Some artists are technical, some aren't. And so what's nice about Bezi is it has a workspace basically for everybody that anybody can get into and use. So if you have technical artists that need to create a terrain tool or something that they typically would have to wait for a tools engineer for or a technical director to implement for them, it gives them a lot of independence working technically inside of the project that they wouldn't have otherwise, or that they would be dependent on somebody else for. And then the last piece of that is the fact that we share pages inside of team workflows. So your game design documentation, all those markdown files that Sky was showing, those are all shareable. We're working with one team right now, and one person on the team sets up all the pages for the rest of the team, and then shares to the rest of the team pages inside of folders that are applicable to that group. So he'll set up pages for UI, he'll set up pages for all sorts of things, and then just share the chunks out to the right people to kind of keep their workflows very streamlined. So as we're building Bezi, we're building it to be the best harness plus agentic tool for individuals. But we also realize that a lot of individuals are making games in teams. And that's one place that you see a lot of drift with IDEs plus agents and kind of people working in their own little spaces. And then, checking code in and doing things kind of the old fashioned way once the agent's actually done its work. And so we're trying to abstract that and bring it all up kind of to the barrel head of the project so that everybody is in good alignment and the way everybody's working with their agents is in alignment as well. All right, and now the really fun stuff. And I'll just touch on this real quick because if we're going to, be a tool for everybody, and especially game development teams, this is the stuff that lawyers or ops people are going to ask for. So just pointing out, we've done our SOC 2 Type 2. We don't train on any user data. So your IP is your IP. We're not taking any of that and using it to train models or to refine the harness. And then everything is encrypted, encrypted at rest, encrypted in transit. So we really do implement like best practices when it comes to our like IT and IP policies to ensure that your games are as safe as possible when being used in conjunction with Bezi, and that we're doing everything possible to protect your workflows. Because at the end of the day, you're taking a chance with us and letting us work alongside of you, and we want to ensure that we're doing everything we can to inspire trust from the get-go. All right, so this pretty much wraps it up. We left this slide here just to leave some space for questions. Edge cases, just whatever we would like to use the remaining time for.
Cool, thank you. Yes, Shai, ask.
Question, can you connect Bezi to Notebook LM?
Notebook LM is a open model router, right?
It's Google's way to take several sources and make LLM that answers your questions on the sources.
Mm.
Can Bezi, like, let's say, have several books and articles about the GUI in Unity. I select on these most recent updated workflows. I put it into Notebook LM, and now I tell Bezi, before you start working on my GUI, please consult with the best practices, with the updated best practices by Unity before you start building.
Um, yes, you can connect it via MCP. So anything that has an MCP, Bezi will be able to connect with. Um, if you don't know how to install MCPs on like the root level of like a mcp.json, you can ask Bezi, hey, can we please install the Notebook LM MCP? And it will walk you through the steps and even potentially automatically set it up for you.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Uh, Ohad asked if does Bezi have skills? Can it create workflows like we do with Cloud Code today and Codex?
Yes, Bezi does have skills. It ships with a number of pre-built ones by our team that we iterate on for like UI workflows, documenting your project into pages, stuff like that. But we also have a skill maker, where if you just ask Bezi, hey, can you create a skill for setting up my power up prefabs? It can analyze how you build your prefabs, create a custom skill tailored to your workflow, and it's off to the races. You could also take a Claude Code skill, give it to Bezi, and ask it if it could translate it into Bezi. Some notable weaknesses there, though, is that Claude Code can use Bash and Python for its skills. We currently cannot, but that should be out hopefully by maybe the end of this month.
And skill importation is live now as well, right?
Also coming soon.
Got it.
And does it mean also for plugins? For example, if I use a plugin compound engineering, so because it's made out of skills.
Is that a Claude system?
It's actually a plugin that is made for all the harnesses. It's also for Codex and for open code.
Plugin compound.
Just something that I like.
All good. Um, It'll just depend on what the connection system is. If it's just skill based,
It's mostly
then
skill based.
yeah, then most likely a lot of it would translate. If any of it is Bash or Python related, though, it won't work until we have that update later this month. Um, yeah, it does look like it would not be that big of a lift. I
Okay,
do
I'm
see
going to.
they do a bit of tailoring for different harnesses though. I see they have routing for if you're using Cursor, they give you a different one than if you're using Claude or uh,
Yeah,
Open
they also
Code.
know how to convert themselves for other stuff.
Yeah.
Ohad asking another question, which is actually also on the list here.
Hmm.
Can we use Bezi from Cloud Code and treat Bezi as MCP and work from the terminal? And also, by the way, I have the same question as reverse, but let's start with this one.
Okay. So this is an interesting one because a lot of people want to be able to use the Bezi plugin system with the credits they already have through Claude Code or something like that, or have Claude Code driving. Um, Currently, a lot of Bezi isn't just the plugin, it's also our backend server that is launching these different sub-agents. Um, just like the chart I showed you guys before of the different models, we don't just use the model that you've selected for those sub-agents. Those are going through a bit of a model router to determine the best use case for that model. Um, and if we gave Bezi as an MCP through Claude Code, that stuff would be missing. and that would break some of the Bezi plugin functionality. So there currently isn't a way to treat Bezi as an MCP. And we're not too sure how it would work if we did try to build it. You would maybe have to provide a number of different keys, which might defeat the purpose of trying to consolidate, you know? On the reverse, can you use Bezi to drive Claude code? Um, I imagine Claude Code probably does have an MCP that you could connect into Bezi. If Claude Code doesn't have one, there probably is a unofficial one. I do imagine that would be pretty doable. Um, the scenarios for it, though, I'd be more interested in hearing about. Maybe you wanted Claude Code to do server work at the same time.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Just I'm going over the list here. I don't have an idea for what, but I think the odd question was interesting, and that's also a question that's coming back every time when I see those tools. For example, that's why I like MCP, like Evans MCP, because we can use my own $200 credits that I buy from Claude, which is very cheap, or from Codex, and use it with Unity.
Hmm.
I'm like, people sometimes don't care about paying, for example, Bezi $20, $30 to use the harness, but they want to use their own API.
Yep. We uh we do hear it a lot. We take it into account. Um, but the big issue is the multiple models provider. Um, that's you know the future is always up in the air if we'll be able to add that kind of capability. I'm just not sure what it would look like right now.
And Shai just commented in basically Claude Code as a way of using Fable 5 in conjunction with Bezi. He said, as what he's seen, we're on Opus 4.8, not 5, but we do have 5 instituted now. So Opus 5 is selectable inside of Bezi. But no,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
don't have Fable 5 as a frontier model currently.
Yes. Opus 5 is in there. It's under the experimental category right now. Um, but yeah, Fable 5 is not in there. For very good reasons. It is an insanely expensive model. If we were to charge you the API rate for Fable, you would destroy your credit bank. And and I gotta be honest with you, based on like avowals of game dev work and like the average task that someone throws it in Unity at an AI, Fable is so significantly overkill.
We
Majority
can
of
ask
tasks,
Ohad. He tried today, I think. Odd, right? Did you manage to finish your $200? I probably will write it in the chat. Nope, he didn't manage to finish them.
oh, in Bezi it would though. Because remember with Bezi, you have the context of your entire engine.
Yeah, that's actually a good question. So does it take more credits that use Bezi?
It is easy to let it take more credits. If you prompt it the same way you do in like a just normal code base, you're going to be consuming more credits because the Bezi needs to search for more information. If you're very specific in your prompting and the context that you provide, you will get a much lower cost than say Claude plus an MCP. Because the MCPs have to read the whole YAML. We only need to translate it into our TypeScript. So
Hmm.
generally, once you get over the learning hump, Bezi will save a lot more tokens. At the start, though, it can be a little bumpy. Definitely read the
Okay.
documentation on our website to
I
to
had
kick off saving.
Yeah, actually, that's funny. The first time that I used Bezi, I just like let it loose, like one shot prompt to see how it's working, and then I went back and read all the documentation to make sure I do it correctly and not like just burn my credits. Um, I have questions that's probably not relevant anymore, like because Unity came back from the privacy that they had, right? They don't have the license agreement anymore, the issue there.
Are you referring to the terms of service update?
Yeah, the ones that they made you illegal and now they back off. So it
It's
doesn't really.
it's a touch and go scenario. What I can say is that we talk with Unity. Um, if they are targeting someone with that specific term clause, it's not us. We have the go ahead. They have told us that we are not banned or violating their term of service.
Yep.
I have the go
Conversely, they're not endorsing us or
yeah.
recommending Bezi for obvious reasons. But no, we're not blacklisted either.
Cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've worked at Unity twice, so
Good old
um,
Unity.
yeah, we also have lots of people in the community that's working in Unity, by the way. Some of them not anymore since today because they were sold to Triple Dot.
Oh, at
Um,
Supersonic.
yeah, so like lots
Mhm.
of people from
Mhm.
Supersonic. I don't know if someone on this call is from Supersonic. I'm not sure. Also,
If
lots
you
of people
guys
are left
if you
already.
guys are at Supersonic, go ahead and send a DM to Alex and say that you need a Bezi seat. And you know, you can get that figured out. You guys already have
Okay.
access.
Mitzi, send your friends there. Mitzi was in Supersonic in the past. Um, okay, 3D content probably came from Shiri. You said you connected to Blender, so
Yeah,
uh,
you can connect the Blender MCP and you can have Bezi drive it. But if you're looking for like Bezi native Gen AI capabilities, there aren't any. It would all be through MCP routes. I will say I've heard amazing things with the ComfyUI MCP. Um, Bezi being able to build like entire comfy workflows that work very consistently. Probably the most stunning thing I've ever been told by a user because I cannot figure out how ComfyUI works myself.
I use Cloud
And
Code
it
for
works great
that.
with scenario as well. So
But that's interesting. As Mitzi, I think you also asked me that a couple of days ago. But I use, by the way, Cloud Code with Comfy. Um,
Yeah, I think
I
Comfy has to be driven by AI. It's such a complicated system.
I know people that's doing it by hand, and
Oh.
because it was also before it was agentic. Oh, and Ohad writing one of the benefits working with CC Coffee is setting goal and have model loop until getting what I asked done correctly. That's a benefit of using an MCP. Claude is basically driving Unity headless or with the editor. Can this be done from within Bezi?
So Claude Code has the goal system, um, which Bezi doesn't currently have. Uh, but through validation loops of telling it like specific criteria to finish its work, it can get into that kind of loop to keep working until it finishes the task. Um, Screenshots using the vision tool to get one-to-one with visuals is one way, but using the test runner to validate your goal criteria is going to get you the best loops that you can in Bezier at the current moment.
I see Shiri is asking about Maya. I don't know if we've run any formal tests connecting Bezi to Maya to drive Maya. We do have a couple of technical artists on our team at Bezi, and one of our new demo pieces that's out. I know some of the asset work was done with Maya, but we'll have to ask Devin if she let Bezi loose in Maya or if she did the work and then exported the assets out.
Yeah,
So
Shiri is one
that's
of
a
the
question we
best.
can look into.
Yeah, Shiri is one of the best 3D artists I know, and she's working. I forgot you love Maya and not Blender. Um, by the way, do you have any plans of using Bezi with other engines?
Ooh, no comment.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, it's not a total secret, but
It's a no comment.
It's recorded, so don't comment if you don't want to. I want to use the recording later. I cannot do it if you say something that I cannot use. Okay, I think we have a raffle. You will also join the raffle because it is really in the game.
Ooh.
So they gave us two keys. It's called, let's send a link to them too. 1 second if you don't win it, please buy it. It's actually pretty cheap.
Ooh,
I
awesome.
want to, I normally I don't go to cheap games, but because they just got released a couple of days ago, and because they gave me the keys for free, so we use them. So
Spicy
it's
tuna.
yeah, that's how they call themselves. Spicy. It's a good name actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
Don't we have a band in Israel that's called also Spicy Tuna or something like that? I'm not sure. Okay, I'm asking Gemini to. I should have asked Bezi to raffle.
Might be a conflict of interest there.
Let's see who Gemini is choosing.
Just tuna. Is it just tuna or just the word tuna
Okay,
for the
raffle
rapper?
winners. Ohad and Mitzi. You are the winners.
Don't clap too
Mi-
loud. Ohad has a toddler sleeping.
Oh yeah.
Also, I do it. Sometimes I do those hostings and then I send actually the one that we had about 100 plus people that's participant. I couldn't come up and I sent Mitzi to do it. Ohad and Mitzi, I will send you the keys later and enjoy it.
Ooh,
Awesome.
brand new
It
game
looks
too.
like fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it actually reminded me a game that we kind of developed for mobile. Mitzi was also working on it a couple of years ago, but they done it simpler. It's out and it's actually selling, so they're doing a good job.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, 345 reviews came out on the 28th. I mean, it's
That's
great
good.
launch numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they had 30,000 wish lists.
Wow.
I'll do it.
Okay, so thank you for coming and joining us. And thank
Yeah.
you for the people that joined us. By the way, our time is now 10 p.m. in Israel.
Ooh.
Oh, well, thank you for staying up late with us.
I will I'm just gonna throw it out there. I don't know if it'll work. But if you use code develop, all caps, I believe it's still active. And it will give you a free month of Bezi, either Pro or Advanced. I can't remember.
Cool, thank you.
Yes.
Awesome.
So
Give it a
anyway, by the
try.
way, Shai, Mitzi is passing the game to you, so you are the winner for the game. Okay, thank you everyone. I'm ending
Thank
it.
you.
Bye.
Cheers. Good
Thanks,
night.
everyone.